Carlin Brethren here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it is reaction time. Checking out a track called Funeral Rites by a band name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because we know how that will go. Brendan, please, can you?
Well, I can, but it's going to be one of two. I just don't know whether the Y at the end is pronounced hard or not. So it's either going to be Euphrosyne or Euphrosyne.
Euphrosyne. I see what you mean. Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm
Euphrosyne.
not sure how the Y is pronounced. They're a Greek
Oh,
band,
yeah.
so apologies to if it's a Greek word and I'm getting that completely wrong. And there's a third version that I should be doing, but that's the best I can come up with.
Hearing you say I can do it now, you for no, I've lost it already. Fuck's sake. Anyway, this band, melodic black metal, apparently. Of course, you have reviewed this album as of the time of recording, and you were a fan. So, yeah, give us a little bit of insight into what we're doing here.
Yes, okay. This is the de debut album for the band. They had EPs out before. This is the debut full length. The album is called Morus. It comes out 21st of March via Black Lion Records. Um, that melodic black metal tagline is not how the album is tagged, interestingly. So
Hmm.
the album is tagged more along post-black slash doom. But
Right.
I guess then you can start going, oh, melodic black. Yeah, okay, it's all kind of in there a little bit. Because actually when I reviewed it, I did say, yes, there's definitely post, there's definitely black, there's definitely doom, but then there is also a bit of melodeath at times, a bit of core, a bit of everything in it. They're very, very multi-genre, led by female fronted vocalist who's very, very talented and does a lot of range. Lots of cool things across the album generally. There are songs that lean towards one of the styles, and this next song might lean more towards another style. Then the next song might bring all of that together, bits with orchestras, bits with, all different components. So as an album, it's very, very hard to just sort of categorize it as one thing. And maybe that's the way they've done it there is like, let's categorize this song as melodic black metal, because maybe the next song I'd categorize as post black shoot, black gaze or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Band themselves, like I said, debut album, so it is it's not a happy album, right? This is not a happy album. This isn't it comes from like some real life experiences, and it's to do with the steps of grief, where a few years earlier the guitarist lost their mother through cancer. Then there was a bit of time like not playing, and then this is the album that was written after that, and the album is conceptual in that it details, I guess, the steps that he went through, but probably more generically what people go through when you're sort of dealing with loss and grief and everything like that. So it's not power metal. It's not going to be punch your fist in the air sort of music. But what it is it's a very talented band, a debut from them, and I think there's enough in this album where anyone who listens to it will find something, and that's probably helped by the multi-genre bit a little bit as well. That be like, oh, I'm not 100% sure of this, but then the songs keep changing and transitioning as they kind of go by. So yeah, I think there's a lot in this band. I think they got a future. Like I've got the
Yeah,
right to say that. I'm sure they have a future if they want to. Yeah, yeah, because I said so.
Yeah, but you know what you mean by that. I know what you
Yeah,
mean by that. When you hear something, particularly from a debut album, in this world of so much music coming out every single day, every single week, dead and buried. When you're a band in this scene, particularly on the black metal side of things, the post-atmospheric melodic wave, what you call it, you're going to struggle to reach people. You're going to
yeah.
struggle to reach people, even
I
with a
mean,
label like Black Lion Records behind you. You are going to struggle.
where
So
where
the
they've
idea
made
is,
their biggest wave so far, actually, weirdly, because I was reading a lot of this stuff in the, you get your bios and everything like that kind
yep.
of come across with the press kit, and they've kind of been picked up by a lot of bands and brought out as like their support acts. So they,
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Yeah, I'm noticing
yeah,
some of the names.
Rotting Christ,
Yeah.
Sakis Tollis. So like it's Rotting Christ and Sakis, both as his individual work and the band. So he obviously likes them.
Yeah, clearly. Sylvain.
Sylvain, and then also the album's mixed and mastered by members of Septic Flesh. So they're in the right mix. You know what I mean? Like that might help
Yeah.
them out with getting seen than anything else if you're touring with Rotting Christ.
Yeah, it feels like there's a bit of weight behind them, like to
Mm.
try and promote them. And even this video, considering it's premiered January 9th, 2025. So, as the time of recording a little while back. But, we are looking at this official video on Black Lion Records TV at nearly 82, at time of this recording, nearly 82,000, which for a band on their debut is pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
All right, let's see what
So
all the fuss is about then.
make it 82,001.
Sure. Three, two, one, go. Yeah, that's it. It's a funny one, really, because I don't know, maybe I'm being like too silly about this, but I swear it's like, oh, Brendan's got a black metal track to show. He wants to show, oh, this is the one he wants to do a reaction to. I'm kind of used to it being like, okay, so three people have heard of this band, and
Mm,
two of them are Brendan and the person that who's in the band, and
yeah.
that's about it. And
The
so like, it's quite
PR who
unique.
sent it, yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. The three people. Even the label doesn't even fucking know who the hell they are. That kind of thing. But so it's quite unique to come and watch something and experience and listen to something that's got a little bit more backing behind it, a little bit more weight behind it. Not just
Mm,
like backing, but also like comes with a video that's clearly really well produced.
yep,
Certainly has a bit of money behind it, and a band that clearly has an identity beyond black metal, like
yeah.
because that's a thing as well. What you described, I feel like if you didn't know any of that, so you hadn't read any of the Blur Bible, you get a definite vibe of two things based on both the video and the song. First off, miserable, misery. That is such an important, that's the thickest thing about this, right? It comes with, it's a miserable atmosphere. It's there, it hangs over it like a death shroud around you, suffocating to some degree. You feel it in every inch of the song before you even take into account the visuals from the video, which add a theatrical level to that. That's the show, that's the
Mm,
experience, not just from like the body movements of in the people in the band, the front woman or anything like that. Just the lighting, the colors, the style. It's black and white, but it's different shades of black and grey and all of that, and you can feel it. And you can feel that's supposed to define grief almost to a degree. But then alongside that, you have what is quite clearly black metal. You have this and here's those drums and the riffs, and it's all that kind of flurry that's very familiar to a degree, upended by, thankfully, plenty of nice melodies, plenty of atmosphere, plenty of how it all weaves together, plenty of little shifts where it almost doesn't. It transforms completely. You can use terms like post atmosphere and all of that, but it's just like, okay, we're no longer doing a black metal thing. We're doing something that's almost, it's got pop like vibes because of the clean singing, because of how they saw, because everything is stepped back a bit and it is just more ambient than anything else. It it's weird. This must confuse for those black metal fans, like who are kind of all cavolty. This must confuse and terrify because on the one hand, it's so dark and evil and twisted to a degree. Like you've got that kind of feeling there, that oppression. Evil's the wrong word. Oppressive kind of feel to it. But then you've got the melody and the clean singing and the atmosphere. It must drive that side of the scene
Good.
nuts. Yeah, because this is still my preferred taste as well. I'll enjoy, a 1993 blast of 3 minutes of forest-covered hate. Fine, but I'll always appreciate stuff like this. The whole genre thing. I mean, this is one track, as you say. If we're talking
Yeah,
about a whole body of work, it's a different thing overall. But ultimately, I get it. You call it black metal, you call it melody, you call it post, you call it atmospheric. The only thing missing was doom. I don't really get the doom part, but that, like I said, probably exists elsewhere.
oh,
But it
definitely.
is impressive because here's the problem, right? Being a Greek black metal band with atmosphere, with ambience, you automatically, and they've toured with these bands, you mentioned them already, uh, but they automatically get lumped and almost compared to that. These are the front runners of a scene
Yep.
of this specific style. So it's kind of nice to hear it and realize, okay, it's not quite that. Like this isn't rotting Christ. I'm
Mm,
hearing like influences, of course, because it's black metal at its core, but it's not rotting Christ. It's something, it's its own thing, a combination of different ideas coming together with a cool concept that I think that would be the overarching thing I'd remember over or long term. Like
yeah.
I appreciate, I love the heaviness, I love the intensity, I love the black metal, I love the melody, I love the atmosphere, and I love how that makes me feel. But I think the thing I'd take away more than anything else is how it's so dark and depressing. And
Yeah.
it's easy to say that about our music sometimes. You kind of get stuck when it comes to descriptive words describing music. And you're coming up with certain things and you're saying, okay, well, it's dark, it's heavy, it's depressive. I actually weirdly try to avoid using that word and a lot of the time because I think it's such a strong word to use to describe any kind of music that it's
Yeah.
almost silly. Why are you describing something as depressive? But when it comes to something like this that sells itself as, look, it's inspired or, sorry, it's themed around the death or real life death and how that person was affected, and it's about grief, but using a concept around it and all of that, of course, then that word has to come up. But feeling it and actually believing that it exists and hearing it and going, I get it. I may not understand or relate or feel it, but I get it and I'm hearing it. And that way, I'd imagine over the album run, Could be quite a
Yeah.
take quite a toll.
I mean, you say that like the words you use, like across the whole album, man, the amount of effort it took me to try and find different ways to say gloom or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Or on some other songs like melancholy, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I've said the word melancholy and gloom about 73 times, so let's go and find some other words for that. You know,
Yeah.
I think you're right, like about the depressive side of thing, but I think the other side of all of this, and this is probably more for people who can find reasons to relate in it, who've been through
Yep.
similar things, it can also be cathartic, can't it? So, this music can also exist in that you find people that have been through similar things to
Yeah.
you and you find a sense of belonging in that, and that can actually
You're
take a weight
sharing
off
it.
your shoulders. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's a place for all of this. I also think,
Absolutely.
like, I mean, I should have really said it more at the beginning. I know you kind of got it anyway, but the other thing with this song is the fifth track on the album, so this is halfway through. So, those stages are kind of like patterned song by song. So, with the
Yep.
first song being really like diagnosis and finding out about the thing, with the last song sort of being like moving, like it's all long done and it kind of being, I can't
Moving
remember the exact
forward.
term, but no, sorry, it is. It's a Greek term. So carried the final journey towards the Asphodel Meadows, which is an
Mm.
ancient Greek underworld. So this song kind of comes in the middle where this is called Funeral Rites.
Yeah.
The song before it is called Eulogy. So this is like it is purposely I mean, you got it from the song, listening to it, and I think that says a lot about the way that the band have delivered both the video and the song, in
Mm.
that without me having to explain too much about the position of what this song and what this one means in that journey, that feeling you got was what I think they were trying to put across. I think they
Yeah.
delivered. I think, they got their message out there. And across the album as a whole, you see a lot more, including a couple of tracks that are sung in their native Greek, which adds a
Right.
whole nother dimension to it as well. So, like you said, yeah, I mean, I don't go into these bands like sometimes like I think the band with the three fans like like are going to be the next like superstars of the world, and then never hear from them again like 10 years later. Whereas these guys, until you kind of you don't know that, do you? Like saying like you listen to the album and then you kind of find out more about them, like, you know what I mean? So I also kind of like, without really kind of like acknowledging it until sort of speaking about it here today, I kind of really like, I like the idea actually. I never really kind of clocked the fact that, Septic Flesh, Rotting Christ, all that sort of stuff, like, are all from the same place. And it's kind of cool that like within that country scene that those bigger bands are sort of there going like,
Looking after each
come on.
other, helping each other. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's giving people a leg up in it, not stamping on the fingers of those trying to come. You're pulling people up to your level
yeah,
rather than stamping on their fingers. Super important because, outside of those bands, like tell me, like you start thinking, okay, well, who else do I know from the Greek metal, just Greek metal scene in general? And you realize,
yeah.
okay, that's not the strongest or the biggest. You tend to just get lump it all into what's the European metal scene like, and that's absurd because if you were to start going to me, well, name me some German metal bands, and that you can start listing them off and so on. I know obviously size of the country is relative
Mm,
and like population and stuff like that,
yeah.
but yeah, like you do kind of get stuck on those specific bands. So if they're all helping out to give this band a bit of a leg up, that's no bad thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. And isn't it also cool? Like, I'm not going to make a big conversation of it now because it's probably be a whole conversation of its own. But like how each country kind of like, at least to the bands that we know from it, all kind of has like the leading band from them are all of like a certain style. Like I always find that really amazing that the bands that we know the most from Greece, the Rotting Christ, Set Flesh, and now for example Euphrosyne, like kind of carrying this sort of like heavier atmospheric black metal, but not quite black metal in the traditional sense. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's kind of cool. Like what are they doing in Greece that's making everyone so depressed?
It's supposed to be sunny and lovely over there.
It's rain.
No, it's a comedy stuff, isn't it? Like they've had a shit of comedy, or at least a long time, or like 10 years ago they did.
Yeah.
So maybe that was it. Yeah, that's what made it more miserable. But you know what? Regardless of misery, it is so listenable, and it does make you want to. At least it makes me want to understand and hear the full thing and just experience that in the right context. I think that's super, super important. I don't expect to be sitting out in the sun anytime soon listening to this. Otherwise, I'm going to get people asking me what's wrong. What's
What?
wrong,
Yeah.
man? You
Why do you
okay?
look so sad?
Exactly. Euphrosyne, funeral rites. You got any thoughts on this one? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.